All right, let's talk about it. Alarmed. Can you believe what happened in yesterday? Before we get into it, a warning to our viewers. Some of these videos and images are graphic. Video from the scene shows people rushing to get off a subway car after a man in a construction vest and a gas mask set off 2 smoke grenades. Police say he then pulled out a gun and started shooting at commuters during the morning rush hour, firing 33 times. Now, at least 23 people were injured, 5 of them critically. One of the survivors was on CNN last night from his hospital bed, and he talked about what it was like to be on that subway. Take a listen.
The guy next to me, but I got a glimpse of his face, and all you see is like a black smoke bomb going off, and then people bum rushing to the back. This pregnant woman was in front of me. I was trying to help her. I didn't know there were shots at first. I just thought it was a black smoke bomb. She said, "I'm pregnant with a baby." I hugged her, and then the bum rush continued. I got pushed, and that's when I got shot in the back of my knee. I'm still shocked, and I'm shaking. I don't even know how I'm holding my phone. I don't think I could ever ride a train again.
Wow, the aftermath, the trauma. He saved that woman's life, possibly. I just want to say that suspect is in custody. We're not going to name the suspect. You used to ride that very train, am I right?
Every day, 36th Street. That's the stop right before 42nd Manhattan Street. When I lived in Queens, the M and the N, the Q and the R, that's how I went and did all my comedy shows that weren't in Queens, is that train. So the idea that would happen to just, and you saw how busy it was, that's how almost everybody that's coming from that borough gets into Manhattan to go to work that day. So I know that train was incredibly packed. And it just, what keeps hitting me is just like how much closer all these things get. When there was a shooting, we've had so many, Jeff, it's hard to, but there was one in Santa Monica.
We've had 132 mass shootings just between January 1st and April 13th. Go ahead.
I don't want to talk about this. There was a shooting at Santa Monica College 5-6 years ago. That was 2 blocks from my home. There was a shooting at LAX after I just dropped my friend off there, and he was there when it happened. The walls are closing in, guys. And I don't know what we're going to do. It looks like nothing, Jeff, so maybe I should be relaxed.
Well, listen, I don't want to go to the highest penalty of all, but I always do. If you have someone that you know is the mass shooter and you did this kind of damage, or the other 132 other shooters that happened this year, there has to be harsher punishments. And in my opinion, they should be put to death immediately. That's my opinion. I know a lot of people aren't with that. But when you have somebody that did the crime, it's not a question of if they did. It's them. They should be put down like animals. There needs to be a deterrent. There is nothing that we're doing to deter this. It's getting closer and closer to home. It's happening more and more. But people turn a blind eye to it because we're more worried about what Will Smith did at the Oscars, what J-Lo's ring looks like. And listen, I understand we have to do our entertainment, but when there's serious issues in the world, maybe we should focus our energy on how we're going to stop that, or focus our energy on how Ukraine needs to be solved. I know we can't solve all these world issues on a daytime talk show, but it's something we should talk about maybe a little bit more.
Agreed. And Erica, what about the fact that there was no cameras working?
Well,
that is all the taxpayer dollars in New York.
Right. That's a very good question as to why the cameras weren't working and there was zero security there. Not that the security that we're used to seeing in public transportation would have been able to absolve the situation, but there were a lot of failures in this equation. And really the biggest failure is the assault on people's basic way of living their lives. Like, it is very expensive to live in New York. Most people rely on public transportation in order to get to their jobs, to feed their families. So the idea that this gentleman who was a victim of this shooting is saying, I don't know if I could ever ride the train again, for other people who are experiencing that PTSD and that trauma, like, what are they to do in order to get to work every day? So yeah, I think the system, it was failed. The citizens were failed on a lot of different ways.
Agreed. And this is atrocious. I know a lot of you this. A lot of people were left get to work after the shooting, and traffic in the area was gridlocked. So a lot of people turned to ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft. But get this, the companies capitalized on it. They started surge pricing in the area around the shooting specifically. Some fares were reportedly up by 24%. Social media lit up with customers, thank goodness, who were furious. In response, both companies said they stopped the price hikes and promised to refund passengers who were overcharged. Only there was pushback, Al.
I mean, I might have a wildly unpopular opinion on this, and I don't, you know, in this situation, I think it's egregious that they would do that. But price gouging and people trying to capitalize, it makes me think about, do you remember when that guy had all those masks in his garage, right when COVID started, and he had like 17,000, and he was fined for that? I don't understand.
He was going to profiteer on Amazon and sell them.
Right, and whenever you say socialism, that's the quickest way to lose an election. But when somebody tries to invoke capitalism, I'm a person, I want to capitalize on this opportunity to make more money than I normally would on a day. Now you are vilified, but when somebody on Wall Street does that and tries to overcharge you for medication by 10,000%, everybody's like, cool yacht, you're doing great. I just don't understand why individual citizens get penalized for trying to make a little bit more money to survive. Is this egregious? Yes, but do I understand where it comes from in terms of understanding there's a chance to make way more money and pay your...
But these weren't the Uber drivers and the Lyft drivers that made this decision. These were the corporate companies, public companies, Al.
Right.
They have a responsibility in my book. They can't capitalize off the backs of the victims. Look at the pushback.
Their responsibility is to their stockholders.
But is it not an algorithm that automatically makes the prices go up if more people go on?
Halloween
the
night
demand. If I go to an airport and there's not a lot of drivers, the price goes up automatically, not because someone's pressing a button.
I understand that, but you also have people that are supposed to be there to make sure that there's checks and balances. You don't think that they heard about Brooklyn? They have offices in Manhattan. They know what's aware. So in my opinion, it's grotesque.
Well, I think when we're having the rideshare conversation, it's far more inclusive than what we're talking about right now, because for anyone who actually drives in a rideshare, I don't know, I use ride shares quite often because my husband and I only have one vehicle. So, and I have noticed, and I don't know if other cities have noticed as much, but there are less cars on the street. There are less people who are willing to drive. And when we talk about the surge pricing, I had a gentleman drive me to the airport just a couple weeks ago. It took me 33 minutes to get an Uber, and it also took me 10 minutes to just get it to connect, because that's how out of control, like there were so many customers, so little cars. And he told me, like, no one's driving right now because it's not worth it. So if you have a surge, there needs to be more transparency as to how much is actually going to the driver versus how much is going to the corporation. Also, like, find out how much your drivers are actually making, because a lot of people would be very surprised that the number that they're receiving as a customer isn't anywhere near the number that they're receiving. And with gas prices surging, listen, we need ride share services. I don't want people to feel like they can't make a living off it. I want to support. So anytime we have these conversations, I always want to bring the person who is in the gig economy, hustling, trying to make money, because when those surges happen, that is a little bit more money, and that incentivizes to get out on the streets.
Things too.
I understand, but I think
there needs to be a line in the sand when it comes to
But when we have these conversations, we're always like, and Uber and Lyft, and you know, we're having this as if it's just the company, but really it's our neighbor too, and I want that voice. I agree
with you, but I need to make this crystal clear. I'm talking about the companies and the executives. I'm not talking about the drivers. The drivers, watch Super Pumped, by the way, on Showtime. You'll see how a lot of those drivers are treated. So I'm going after the company, not the drivers, because I agree with you, Eric, and I'm glad you made that point, because it's a lot of us out there that are just trying to survive, and those are a lot of those.
And let's blame the shooter for what happened, not Uber and Lyft. Let's blame the shooter.
1,000%. These were two totally different beats.